Hello, it's Rafael Gutierrez. Welcome to our channel. Today I'm going to actually talk to you about something, again, going to the life lessons aspect of martial arts. And I'm not necessarily only going to talk about martial arts because one of the things I find is things tend to come together from different areas. For instance, if you actually look at dance, you can actually find a lot of the things in dance and martial arts. Baseball, you can actually find a lot of martial arts in baseball. Literature, you can find a lot of different things, history, philosophy, it's everywhere. But people forget about this. Now, I'm going to mention the two of the trips I've done, and one of them is Off the Rails, where I took a train from San Diego all the way to Oakland, stopping every so often to train in different martial arts. I call it my modern Musha Shugyo, and it really wasn't that expensive to do. It's something that, if you're really interested in doing, if you save a couple $100, you can do this in, well, a couple hundred if you're in the California area. I'm sure it's cheaper in other areas and more expensive in others. But the idea was this: I did have to actually watch how I packed and did everything, because while I was doing this for about a month, what I ended up having to do is I had to carry everything I had. One of the things I did is I actually did bring some clothes that I was going to throw away once I was done with it. It was usually old stuff which I didn't need anymore. There's stuff that I couldn't carry even though I wanted to, because it just would have been too bulky. For instance, I actually love bow, but I left my bow at home because I couldn't really carry it on a plane too easily. And even though I love books, I had to leave those at home because, well, I didn't have anywhere to put them. I think I carried one book with me. Now, the idea is this: a lot of times when you travel, you can only carry what you can physically carry on yourself, and so you can't really pack everything you have. Well, I will say, when I did the Serious and the Rarest Thing, when I moved to Japan for 3 months, what I did is I took a lot of my stuff to my brother's place and left it there for 3 months, because I didn't know when I was going to be coming back, and there was stuff that I really wanted to have when I returned. If I returned, I probably would have sold it or traded it if I wasn't. But again, it's when you start realizing that you have to carry everything you have with you, you end up realizing what's really important. Ironically, for anyone who's Christian, you may remember Jesus actually mentions it's like something similar to that, where you have to find out what's important for you and leave the rest. And as I was going through this, the reason this came back to my mind was a couple days ago. I was talking to one of my students who's 15 years old, and he mentioned living a minimalist lifestyle. And I had heard the term minimalist in art, in music, and that's the idea of you don't necessarily need everything. You can actually just use what you need to give the impression that you need. And when he said minimalist lifestyle, I understood what he meant. Pretty much taking what's important and just using that. A day later, I was on Netflix, and I found a documentary called Minimalism, a Documentary by Ryan Nicodemus and Fields Milburn. And it was actually really good. It's a really good documentary. They actually tell you why they went into the minimalism. And it's the same idea that you hear everywhere. Find out what's important for you and go with that. And they actually talk about, I should mention, I went to their website, and they talk about a lot of different points that are important to minimalism, and they're actually important to any human being. And these are 5 of them that I think are really important. One of them is focus on your health. Now you think about it. In martial arts, we have people who live, my teachers right now are in their mid to late 70s, and they're still physically active. They're actually healthier than I am, which may not be saying much, but you have 70-year-old men who are able to do stuff that 18-year-olds can't. My late teacher reached 80, but in martial arts, if you go to Okinawa, you'll meet 100-year-olds who are training and doing it for health and continuing. The other thing that they actually mention, which is important, is living in the moment. For those of us who are in Okinawan martial arts, we've heard the term Ichigo Ishie. The idea being you have one chance, one opportunity to live. So, do that. Again, he talks about pursuing your passion. If you're in martial arts and you're really serious and going into it, it is a passion that you can pursue, and you don't really need a lot of money to pursue it. Yes, you need to pay a teacher. Yes, if you want to travel, you have to do that. But it's not like if you really want to get into martial arts, there's really not that much equipment that you really need. I know today you go to some martial arts schools and they have $1 million of equipment that half the time nobody uses, or if they do use it, it's one or two. But if you actually go and look at what people were using before for training aids, they were affordable. Usually they would be made by the person. The other thing they talk about is reclaiming your life. Well, if you're living your life with passion, and with your passions, if that's what you're going for, you are reclaiming your life. And the last thing is eliminating discontent. Now, a lot of people are discontent with their lives. I mean, if you actually read some of the journals, there are some places where they say that something like 1 in every 6 people is on antidepressants. Now, that's actually not saying these people, there's that people shouldn't be on antidepressants. There's a lot of people who need antidepressants for a lot of reasons. Sometimes there's a death in the family and it helps them get through to the next stage. But a lot of times we actually cause our own discontent. Ironically, if you read a lot of the old Buddhist texts, they tell you about how, discontent occurs because we strive for something that is meaningless. We grasp for this material object that doesn't mean anything to us, but we put it a value, and then when we have it, it no longer has that value because we have it. There's something else that we may want. Now, I'm not saying that if you love collecting, shells, you shouldn't do it. If that's your passion, that's your passion. If you love painting, that's your passion, that's your passion. But the idea of going for something just for the sake of a status symbol may not necessarily be the best way to live. They don't say that, I'm me adding. But as I actually started looking at this minimalism, I found that besides being in old philosophies, it's actually a big thing for investors. What I mean by that is this. If you actually read books by people who help people, what is it called, financial advisors, one of the things they tell you is, what do you really need to live? Take what you really need and save the rest. If you actually think about it, a lot of the Tao Te Ching mentions that as well. If in hard times, if in soft time, in good times, you're saving, you're going to have a cushion when you have hard times. And so that's actually one of the big things that does happen is with these minimalist lifestyles, it's actually not just one thing. It's not just, I'm going to do this just to be happy. That's actually, I think, a big thing, and I think most of us would want to be happier. But it actually goes into other aspects where it will help you save. And saving, if you actually go into the how most people actually become rich, they don't become rich by working, they get rich by saving. For those of you who have come across this idea of compounding, the idea is if you're getting, let's say, 5% interest on something, and you have $100, well, you get $100 on that $100, you get $5. Next year, you get $5 and $5.05. And as it comes up, it keeps on adding more and more to the point where you're actually eventually getting a lot more coming in than you would have actually gotten if you would have worked. So I would actually tell you, even though I may not have, I would actually tell you this. Look at and find out what your passion is. Save. And if the idea of minimalism doesn't seem to make sense, actually go to the minimalist.com website, read up on a lot of the stuff they say, because the thing is, you would be surprised how much of this actually relates to our martial arts. I hope you enjoy this. Have a nice day.